to another episode of the Black NewsBeat HBG. I'm so excited to have all of you here tonight with me. We have a lot to cover. We always have a lot to cover. There are so many things happening in the community. But first, Juneteenth in 2021 has been declared a special holiday by the governor, and that means Governor Wolf is giving all his employees the day off. So what's up, businesses? What's up, private sector? What y'all doing? Because we need the day off too, okay? So I'm very happy to announce that, and look out for our Juneteenth special because it's a black ass holiday, y'all. So what we doing? What we getting into? Coming up this for this week's B&B Airbnb. Coming up for this Black News Beat, we have for Sweeping the Streets, we have special guest Westburn Majors, Councilman Westburn Majors, and our very own local wine expert and all-around creative extraordinaire, Branden Elmore. So let's get into Sweeping the Streets. Well. It has been a very interesting May because what was the big announcement that we have for this May? The world is opening back up. Can you believe it? We are finally, I think, getting on to the side of the pandemic where we can say for sure that we are getting through this. It's been a long road. And so we're opening back up, but we have some guidelines. If you are not vaccinated, I want you to still be careful, okay? The CDC is telling us that, Memorial Day weekend's coming up. And we know folks want to travel. We know folks want to, get together, barbecues. You know how Black folks are about the cookout. So we have a lot of catching up to do from last year because a lot of us, really did try to be good. And, the question I had for this segment was, were the streets ever not open? Because Harrisburg was popping in the summertime last summer. We had a lot of different events going on, but I think now we feel more comfortable and we feel like we can actually get out there and do something fun, and it doesn't feel like we're doing something bad. So I'm really happy that we're opening up again. So let's observe those guidelines. I can put the article from our CDC director, the US CDC director, in the chat. The guidelines are, if you are not vaccinated, you are still in danger. And that's because there are strains of COVID out there that we need to be aware of. Still need to wear a mask. We want to make sure that we're following the guidelines for social distancing, especially if you are not vaccinated. Myself, I've had 2 family members who have had COVID very severely at this point. And so I don't want any other of my siblings to get COVID. Babe, do you see the acronym slide? You want to throw that up? Now I want you to see this slide. Can you read this? If you can read this, then you know what to do, okay? And if you can't read it, y'all don't spoil it in the chat. Don't give it away. But you know what to do. If you can read this, you already know what the deal is. So be safe out there. We know we want to celebrate Memorial Day weekend. It's one of I think it's our second 3-day weekend for the year. Ain't nobody got to work on Monday, but be careful while you're out there, especially if you are not vaccinated. But if you are vaccinated, I'll see you at some of those cookouts. I'll see you. I'll be there to try somebody's potato salad, and it better be good. Oh, after that, we have some more exciting news to talk about. We are going to do our city council recap. So city council was very interesting last night. There were a lot of things that I think, how do I say this? There are so many things for city council that I think everyday members of the community are looking for when we talk about what we're looking for from city council. And a couple of the comments last night were around clarity, ease of access. I know myself has been talking about it. I know Ms. Pamela Parsons and even Ms. Winnie O and other comments Oh, think we had a little disruption there. I guess they don't want the powers that be, maybe want to interrupt that little kind of discussion on city council. Maybe not. No, we just think the internet went out for a second. So we're back now. Like I was saying, we want to make sure that we are tuning into these city council meetings. I have the information here up on the page. It is this information for, I'm going to guess the rest of 2021. It's got the passcode 2021 in there, the meeting ID. And back to what we were talking about. So last night, there was discussion around at 1103 South Front Street. There is a lot of talk around building a tiny house village for veterans who are unhoused. And so we have been in the Shipook community this has been a long discussion. This is now come up to city council to vote on the issue of the easement. There's an easement on that property that needs to be handled, particularly for our capital area greenbelt. So there's a lot of discussion around that. It was very confusing, and we voiced that opinion when we were talking to city council members in our public comments, because we wanted to know, like, this tiny house village could be on a floodplain. What kind of recommendations or guidance is being followed given that. And another, Ruthie Osai, who's one of my good friends, she made a great point about how 100-year floodplains are turning into 25-year floodplains in our area. So what used to be only flood once or twice in maybe over a couple generations now is flooding more frequently. So how would that affect veterans that may be living in those homes? Ms. Parsons brought up an excellent point about how we don't want to move veterans into this area and then it become a bigger issue where they may have to be removed from the area because of any flooding issues. And anyone who pays attention to what's happening in Shipook at all, we know that every time there's hard rain, people's basements are getting water. So this is not a strange ask or strange topic. There were some good things brought up by city council once we dug a little deeper, especially when we went into that legislative session after the work session about, are they considering the flooding? Are we considering some other pieces? But none of that can even happen yet until we figure out some of the other issues with the sale of that property from the current owner and the proper donation of that land to the veterans organization that'll be gifted to. So stay tuned for that. We also we are still asking for multimodal ways to access the meeting. I had a great conversation last night with Councilwoman Daniel Bowers, who did let me know, not only she did mention during the meeting that we're getting a new website, but also that City Council is absolutely thinking about ways to get our Hispanic community involved, to get our ASL community involved, and other ways that we can maybe get some real-time translation at the very least. So that was an excellent meeting. And last but not least, who's running for office? We've been talking about who's running for office in tandem with City Council for a long time, and all the other things that were happening. We're going to be taking a break until July. We've got some things that we want to revamp for voter education and some other pieces. So look for us. We'll be back in July, and we're going to be getting ready for that next for November. So I want to make sure that we're taking a little break. We'll put up a graphic about taking a break, but we'll be back. We want to make sure that not only are we paying attention for the May, we want to pay attention in November as well. Excellent, excellent. Next up, so there's been big talk in the community about getting back to work. Okay, I am of mixed emotions, and when I say back to work, I mean in the office. So let's talk about it a little bit. As we said earlier in the broadcast, the streets are opening back up as a larger percentage of the population becomes vaccinated. Folks with a decent job were granted work from home privileges as the cases exploded in mid-2020. Now that we're seeing a decrease in cases, we're also seeing a decrease in work from home programs from 100% to 75% to 50% and even down to 0. Companies are wanting to return to normal because the old normal was amazing, right? So awesome. During our new normal, however, a lot of us folks loved this new ass way of working. Being at home in our pajamas, not wearing pants. Me, I didn't wear pants a lot. Great shirts though. Binge watching all of Shondaland, perfecting my air fryer chef status. All of everyone watching probably knew exactly when I brought an air fryer. And actually eating lunch. I haven't eaten a good lunch since I've been back in the office. Okay, it's been 2 weeks. All while answering emails and putting out fires at our actual jobs. Like, girl, why would we want to change this? for what is the reason? All about getting back to normalcy? Enter these trash corporate America companies and the corporate America wannabes. Looking at you, nonprofits. Here we are adapting to the change, and boom, we had to carry our comfortable and productive, mind you, asses back into these spaces with hard chairs, incessant interruptions for no reason, and uncomfortable migraine-inducing fluorescent lights. Not to mention terrible coworkers. And to the ones who love their coworkers, I hear you. I see you. Do I believe you? Not exactly. But as for me and my heart, we love working with our coworkers from home. Tell me this, what is better than muting our mics and letting the cuss words fly as we lay out these utterly incompetent work proximity associates that we gotta deal with on a today, and then again on today basis? Why I gotta see y'all every day, right? Why do y'all want me in the office angry? Why are y'all hanging on to old shit? What is the reason? Is it because of normalcy? It's the peace of mind for me. It's the savings for me. Okay, it's the ergonomically correct couch I have at home for me. It's taking a real nap at lunchtime for me. As reported, a fastcompany.com article stated just 2 days ago, a well-known magazine company based out of DC is reportedly ready to eliminate healthcare benefits to employees that refuse to return back to the office. Child, how many ways do they have me fucked up? Let me tell you two, okay? Me, myself, and I got me fucked up. Healthcare, for some reason, is still a privilege to people, which is ridiculous. Fuck that and fuck them. And we are literally still in the middle of a pandemic. Please go directly to hell. And another thing, these damn companies obviously don't know what the hell they are doing. Where are the actual policies, sus? Y'all's disaster preparedness plans were not giving what it was supposed to give. Nobody had a good transition plan until the second wave, the end of the second wave of COVID. But now y'all want to rush to get back to normal? Sis, who is normal? Because we don't know her at all. Anyway, friends, sound off in the comments. What's your job doing? What is your company policies? And how do you feel about them? We want to know. Okay. Well, now that we got that out the way, some of the other things we want to talk about tonight are we have a superintendent mini scandal brewing on the internet, which I thought was very interesting. So what's the issue? Finally, we got an announcement a couple of days ago about having some superintendent finalists that will be interviewed by some community members. Some of our community members of Catch would have been representing the community in interviewing these panelists. And then all of a sudden, there was an email to teachers that said that they basically had their new superintendent. So I looked, as a good community member should, a lot of us are looking up that superintendent and seeing that he came from Reading, and then he was also connected to the receiver, the acting superintendent that was installed by the receiver, who is Chris Selmer. So he was a high school principal, the high school principal of Reading High School, 5,200 students, and Chris Selmer was the assistant superintendent in that school district. So he's coming here from that school district, so a lot of people had questions. And what does that mean for the community? So it means a couple things. One, it means that we're getting a superintendent, an actual superintendent, not just an acting, after a couple years of being in receivership. But also it means that it means that folks are getting mixed messages, is what I think. So folks are getting these mixed messages because on one hand, here we are saying, we want to involve the community, and they're going to get to interview these finalists, plural, and get to ask them questions. And then we find out that this person is the finalist for the position. So do we really have community participation, or do we just are just kind of saying that for the sake of saying it? So sound off in the comments. Let me know how you feel about that, because I think there's good and bad. I think that we can give somebody who actually is lauded with turning the Reading School District, the Reading High School around a chance, but also how do we respect the community in that process and actually get real input from them on the folks that they want to see in office or in that position. After talking to some of the teachers in the school district, I realized that they also feel a little taken back by that announcement, because they also were told that they would have more involvement in that process. So tell me what you think about that, and let's talk further online and in the coming weeks about that as well. Excellent. So next up on our docket, we did yesterday celebrate 1 year of the 1 year anniversary of George Floyd's murder. He was taken from us too soon. Last night, a couple of friends and I got together and watched a video by the African American Memorial Fund that one of my very good friends, Mr. Floyd Stokes, put together a program for, and it was just a remembrance program. And what was really great about that program is they had Dr. Winnell there, and Dr. Winnell was George Floyd's second grade teacher. And she told us an excellent story. We'll find that video and put it in the chat as well. She shows an excellent story about how him wanting to be a Supreme Court judge when he grew up. And the note that he wrote, the assignment that she gave, and the writing that he did that talked about what he would do. And I'm always very emotional. I got very emotional on Thursday, being in that space, moderating that event, because sadly, this is one of the only times that Black and brown people who are murdered by police are humanized. And the fact that we have George Floyd's second grade essay, the fact that we have his teacher who's willing to tell the story, right? The fact that people got to see a side of him that was more than just the thug, drug addict bullshit that they were portraying him to be in order to demonize him for his own death. And of course, it does not hurt at all that we actually have a murderer who is going to prison. That doesn't hurt one bit. But every year, I think every year is going to be a remembrance, because it rocks cities all over the country, right? Same thing, it rocked Harrisburg. This weekend will be a year anniversary of many of my friends and us protesting, and some of us getting maced. I personally was not maced, but I do know several people who are here to tell that story about being maced for protesting that murder. And so there are so many changes that have happened since then. We've gotten Bill 8, which was the Community Law Enforcement Advisory Committee that went through and was passed. We have an announcement at least about a community policing program. So there are things happening. However, there's still so much more to be done. There were 2 bills passed at the state level. Representative Patty Kim talked about those on Thursday. So there is still so much more to be done though. So let's keep pushing on. Let's keep fighting for justice. Let's keep doing our work. All we have is our work, is a saying that Julia Mary reminds us of all the time. So let's keep doing that work. I'm also going to drop a link to Cody Burt, who is my creative director, his film that he did last summer around that whole protest and our experience. So I just wanted to make sure we took a moment there and just take a moment of silence right now as well for George Floyd. Okay. All right, next up on our docket, we do have one of my favorite segments is called Movies and Melanin. And we want to talk about a couple things that are happening. Number 1, Black Lady Sketch Show. Black Lady Sketch Show is one of my favorite shows out right now. They have amazing sketches and kind of relatable things to not just Black women, but definitely it's definitely a for Black women's show. One of the kind of running themes in that show, it is the running theme, is that it's the end of the world and 5 Black women survive. And it was interesting because between season 1 and 2, there were some changes. So they had to kind of like redo their opener in order to kind of like seam it together. So it's been interesting taking that journey with them. The sketches are great. Robin Thede is hilarious. There's something wrong with her. She's too funny. And I just see the creativity and the range of the women on the show is amazing. There's a song that I want you to go check out. It's called Air. And they were kind of poking fun at the kind of like ethereal movement that we have of these very like, what's the word for that? More airy and ethereal Black songwriters, and how they can really say anything, but they sound so good that we're going to sing along. So check them out. The other thing that happened that I think we should absolutely be celebrating is the Chadwick Boseman School of Fine Arts at Howard University, of which Felicia Rashad is going to be the dean. How amazingly exciting is that? Oh my goodness. So if you have, we can drop a link to that in the chat too. But if you haven't kind of read up on that, this is a really amazing advancement. There are so many things that are good that are going to come out of that. So please, please, please check those two things out. Check out Black Lady Sketch Show. Celebrate on the internets, and by going, hopefully, to the Chadwick Boseman School of Fine Arts at Howard University. Those are amazing accomplishments for the culture. All right. Well, we're going to get into a little commercial here, and then we're going to, and then we'll go on to our guests tonight. If we could put up the Juneteenth. So for commercial one, we have Juneteenth coming up in the city. It is a Black Ass celebration. Okay, it's a celebration of freedom, right? It is Freedom Day. And I want you to know that there are so many organizations in the area that are doing things for Juneteenth. You don't even have to go anywhere. All right, you don't have to go to DC. You don't have to go to Philly. You don't have to go to New York, Baltimore. You can come and celebrate right here with us. The Young Professionals of Color will be having multiple events over the weekend. The Bridge, and we're also partnering the Bridge to have a Juneteenth Jubilee at Reservoir Park. La Cultura will be having a week-long segment of events. You can check that on their page. Capital Rebirth will be doing some things. All You Can will have a Father's Day the day after Juneteenth, but still on Juneteenth weekend celebration, and so much more. There are so many things happening in the city. I say get your tickets, reserve your spot, whatever you need to do to make sure that you celebrate Juneteenth with us. All right, and now we'll be going into our community engagement segment. All right. Oh my goodness. I have somebody in the house for you guys to really get to know a little bit more. He's usually, we're plugging away and doing some excellent work as our city council, one of our city council persons. Welcome, Westburn Majors, local celebrity, friend of mine. How you doing? You're on mute. Go ahead and unmute. Let's see. There you go.
Yeah, hello. Hey, Dr. Campbell,
Hey.
how are you?
I'm
Good.
well.
I'm
How
not
you
the
doing?
I got celebrities in my family. I'm the least important in my in that circle, but good to see you.
Not to us. You a celebrity to us, okay? So, questions, the questions are real light, no gotcha questions, I like to say, just a conversation. So how are you? How's it going serving? And how's everything going with you?
Oh, no, things are good. I can't complain too much. I am a husband, a father of who is the number one celebrity, in my book, my son Wyatt. And just trying to continue to work to serve our community. It's been a very challenging, last year, but I think things are, as you mentioned earlier in your earlier segment, things are starting to move in a positive direction. So, all in all, blessed. I was able to, get vaccinated. So feeling a little bit more comfortable, moving out and about, and just looking forward to all of what 2021 will continue to bring, and making some movements and advancements in our city. And then, preparing for what the future is going to hold as we're moving, our city forward.
Absolutely. We had a surprise announcement. It wasn't a surprise, it was just kind of at the end, that they're, speaking of moving the city forward, and especially going through COVID, that we got some monies from the American Recovery Plan already into Harrisburg. Right. So if there's anything you can share about that, we'd love to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the first things that the Biden administration did was work to pass a $2 trillion American Rescue Plan. And that plan did provide cities with some direct payments and direct funding that's been made available. So the city of Harrisburg is looking to receive about $47 million over the next 2 years. And, we are working through all the guidance and what we can actually spend the money on. But the city received its first payment, which was half, so roughly $23 million. And we'll be working with the administration on how to allocate those funds in the pots that the federal government gave us. And then the county also is receiving $54 million.
Mm.
So, our region, that's just the Dauphin County, part of Dauphin County's portion.
Wow.
But our region will be receiving, in the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars amongst, the
Wow.
South Central region. So, it's a real opportunity. I think, students of history, this is like another, Roosevelt era New Deal type investment into cities and communities across the country. So I think, as that guidance comes out and we can talk and work with our leaders to, figure out how to spend the money, this is going to be a real opportunity to invest in the people and our infrastructure in the city of Harrisburg. So looking forward to those discussions that will be coming up over the next couple of weeks and months.
That is very, very exciting. I'm very excited to hear kind of your thoughts on that. And if you had your, I would say, top 3 things that you may want to spend money spent on in Harrisburg, what would you kind of be thinking about for that?
That's a heavy question because there's so many things that the city of Harrisburg and our region need, right? So I think I think investing in infrastructure is one to the extent that we can. So I'm thinking not just our roads and water, but I'm also thinking about some of some broadband infrastructure, and addressing also some of our housing stock as well. So, I think there are going to be some creative ways that we'll be able to, leverage those dollars to be able to address some of the needs that we know the community's been asking for, but the city of Harrisburg just hasn't had the resources to address them to the extent that they are needed to be addressed. So I'm thinking, some housing pieces partnering with some developers that, hey, if we actually have, funds that can be used towards housing, and we can partner with them, so the city isn't bearing the whole brunt of a project, and we can do some creative ways of working together to make that occur. I'm thinking our water infrastructure. We all know that Capital Region Water, while they're doing they're doing work now, we need to really work to address some of the combined sewer overflows that end up in the Susquehanna River. So that also just some workforce development investment. With all the development that's occurring, we're going to need heavy equipment operators and people that are trained in the jobs that will be coming to our region. So if we can, partner with some of our local unions and workforce development councils to make those things occur. But those are just 3 of the multitude of things that I think we can, we'll be able to have some opportunities to discuss on how to spend the dollars on that will be coming to our city and our region.
Absolutely. That sounds amazing. And thank you for your input on that. Thank you for all the work that you do in the community. I also want to highlight that you were part of a Hip Politics series with Paper Tag, and you were interviewed on the intersection, your take on the intersection of hip hop and politics, which I thought was fascinating. I saw it shared a couple times on social media, and I decided to take a listen, and it was fascinating. So from your perspective, kind of tell me, what is the intersection of hip hop and politics, and how did you feel that your spot with Paper Tag went? How did that all go?
No, I think it was great. The young lady who runs it reached out via she has a Harrisburg connection. She's from the city. She's an HBCU grad. So am I. Well, now an HBCU grad. So she was an HBCU student, and I attended HBCU Lincoln University. So I always jump at opportunities to work with young people, especially young African American folks, and even more particularly HBCU students. So it was just a great conversation to have. We are, of the millennial generation, elder millennial, whatever you want to call us. So we grew up with hip hop. That's all we've known, right? We've always known it as a genre of music. So for me, I think hip hop has been telling the stories of folks that are in some of the toughest communities around our country, and working to be the poets of our generation to get those stories out in a way that can be digested and thought about by not just our communities, just not people of color, but it's gone to the world, right? So I think there's not a there's not a person in America and almost around the world that hasn't heard a hip hop song that's under the age of 50, right? So I think it's a way to express the desires and the needs of a community. And I just talked a little bit about some of the artists that influence me and that I take a liking to, and I'm glad to see them using their platforms to talk about real issues and working to engage our, the youth and the people that listen to their music. It's great to, get together, go to a party or a club or a little, get together, but they're also actually using those platforms to raise money and address real issues, even to the point where, yesterday when the Floyd family was at the White House, as you mentioned about the 1 year, it's the 1 year, I don't want to really call it an anniversary, but the 1 year acknowledgement of the death of Mr. George Floyd. There's been artists that have been involved in attending, those events too. So like, to me, it's really our biggest export in America is our culture, and then particularly, Black culture and hip hop culture. So it's something that we've been able to, that was of Black people and is, in America, and it's spread across the world.
Absolutely. And one kind of wrap up question, I want to know one of the songs or artists that you think most, and you talk a little bit about this, but most in current in our times that really speak to young people. What should our watchers be kind of listening to or taking note of as far as, existing at the intersection of hip hop and politics to kind of, help along their understanding of kind of both of those worlds?
I think, for me particularly, the artist that I listen to on a regular basis, one of our favorite rap group of all time is The Roots. So Black Thought, Quest, and that group. But I think one, not just to point out one, but one who actually has a Harrisburg connection was Toby Nwigwe. He's a artist out of Houston, Texas. And I remember back in 2018 at the Weekender, he was actually one of the artists that performed in South Harrisburg at the outside of the HHA property out there in the rain. He came up here with his wife and destroyed it. I was on my way back into town from my honeymoon, and I had heard that he was coming, and I had been listening to his music, and I was like, oh, this brother is on fire. And I had missed the show, but from that, I just, seeing the pictures that he took with people and everybody else, and and just seeing his work and activism over the last year has been something that it's a sight to be seen. He always talks about, he wants to make purpose popular. So for me, I think that's one of those people that I think, people should take a listen to and get the message. He's, to me, a extremely, positive guy who's, in being very specific, he is universal in his message.
Absolutely. Agreed. Did you like his new song that's out?
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I think it's going to be a summer banger.
Listen, look, he hasn't, to me, he hasn't had too many misses. I don't think he's had a miss yet. And, just, seeing the relationship, again, to me, it's the relationship between him and his wife, him and his, producer, Nell, woman. So like just two Black women that are his wife and his homie, and those three together are making music, and they have a vision working with all of the different artists. And, it's just, to me, it's an intersection of, hip hop, art, and, and culture and family. So yeah, fire with his wife, who he endearingly calls Fat.
They did that.
Yeah, they did it. They
really did it. Yes. So this wraps up our interview for now. Thank you very much. Stick around. I want to bring you back to have a little discussion in about 10 minutes. And thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate you so much, as always.
No, thank you.
As
absolutely.
Always.
Anything for you, Soror. So
absolutely, Fred. Appreciate you.
All right.
And well, that was very refreshing, I think. I am happy now to talk about one other excellent community effort that's going on. We have, in the middle of the pandemic, people were starting businesses left and right. I think that's one of the beautiful things that came out of the pandemic. And so we have a sister in the community. Her name is Lindsay Reyes, and she has started a new business, and it's called Inner Goddess Glow. And she has a lot of different products that she's been conceptualizing, and she just released a couple new products, a scrub and a soap that I just purchased today. She was so courteous, and I can't wait to see how this blossoms for her. The soap is a mint lemongrass, or I'm sorry, something lemongrass, but I love lemongrass is the point of the story. Lemongrass soaps are a big deal for me. So I'm waiting to see how they stack up against some of my other favorites. So please, go check out her stuff. Let's get her some business. And I think it's not only is it important to support small businesses, community businesses, and Black businesses, but definitely Black women-owned businesses as well in our community. So show her some support, innergoddessglow.com. I am going to report back to you next week and let you know, the next time, and let you know how much I loved the soaps. All right. So next up, we're going to go to our culture and creativity segment. And boy, do we have a treat for you. Okay. I cannot even begin to tell you what an amazing person we have here. This is Dr. Branden D. Elmore, new friend of mine, just an all around amazingly intelligent person, amazingly creative. And it is my pleasure to have you here tonight. How are you?
I'm well. Good energies and peace to all. Thank you so much, Kimeka, for considering me as a guest on your show. Very
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to tell this little tiny story about how we met. Branden actually is staying at Hurston Manor. Literally became friends 3 months ago, but we have had some very amazing interactions. And just recently, we pulled off the feat of planning an entire wine tasting. I didn't do anything. Branden did it all. An entire wine tasting at Hurston Manor. It was the first event to open up Hurston Manor since the pandemic. We haven't been on the inside for events in a whole year. So I just want to say publicly, thank you for that. Thank you for making a dream of mine come true. And I want to hear more about your process and how you pulled this off.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, okay. I don't think I can follow that. That was like such a great introduction, and also all of the things that I already wanted to say. But I'm just very grateful for you. If I can take just a quick moment to highlight you as a Black woman, to have such a, platform and space and to use it in such a way. I'm just so thankful to be here. And also thank you to Councilman Majors for sharing this very thoughtful and important space with me. Shout out to all my fellow HBCU alum who are watching and listening in. Of course, my illustrious alma mater, Fayetteville State University. It was noted earlier, so I had to bring that in. So let's see. Yes, I'm now what you mentioned earlier, the now local wine guru. And I had the esteemed pleasure of meeting some amazing colleagues here in Harrisburg and now new friends this past weekend. And yes, the first in-person event back at the Hurston Manor. And I think that was a collaborative effort. I think that you propelled me to the space, right? Because it was just like a really natural conversation that you and I had. But I really enjoy doing events as such. I really, really do. And of course, to be in community with Black and brown faces, it was just a great opportunity to kind of recharge. Of course, in a safe space of vaccinated colleagues who are still practicing social distancing and regulations per respect for the community and culture. It was definitely a moment of affirmation. I've been doing this for some time, and if I may just really quickly kind of tie this to my professional identity, as you kind of introduced me as doctor, I am a postdoc at the University of Maryland Center for Diversity, Inclusion, and Higher Education. And this skill, or I call it an interest, is something that I actually picked up on as a graduate student. So I'm also a creative, and while completing my bachelor's and master's in communication, so for some time, I worked as a bartender at Bonefish Grill, and I had the chance to extend that knowledge to my grad school community in doing kind of like mini workshops for cohorts of grad students, mainly students of color, as an effort to gain extra income, but also to share out that cultural and social capital that I picked up on during my time outside of being what an academic was supposed to be. So I also like to say that I got through grad school because I love the wine. And I, of course, brought the wine.
Yes.
But
Cheers to you getting through grad school.
Wow, exactly, right? And I think that would just be a discredit if I just noted only the wine experience to the many mentors and opportunities that were really a big part of me excelling through and obtaining my PhD in higher education. So I also wanted to note, because you mentioned, while like my planning process is kind of loose, I actually have been kind of curating this for some time now. So while I was in my master's program at University of Cincinnati, I actually was watching A Different World. It was back on some platform, and Felicia Rashad came, did a mock interview presentation for the students where she recorded them and let them watch kind of like them going through an interview process. I was like, wow, I was really inspired by that. And of course, being a creative, I was like, how can I translate this into the classroom, into public speaking? And I knew that like there's a structure, like you get in front of people and you speak. But as being a graduate student, I was like, there are many opportunities where you go on job talks, where you have to go even for the graduate school process, like that interview process, and like have dinners with people, and like that weekend of kind of perusing around and being introduced to them. And I was like, how can I make this a practical kind of application within the classroom? So I translated that into a model where we would go through like a fake menu and kind of like talk about like what was etiquette, right? As far as like, what would you order on the menu? And then that also kind of grew into me building these workshops for grad students. So that's how I kind of like curated the space.
You know what, Branden? I wish I had a service like that when I was trying to do these job talks, because I'm sure I made an ass of myself plenty of times.
Same. And you have to go through it and learn those, you know, like those pitfalls to kind of really see like, wow. So I was just really fortunate, of course, to kind of just be there and watching this show and really inspired by her. And that transpired into many, many, many different workshops of professional development, etiquette, and what it really means to be an academic professional. And that's something that I really enjoy doing. And it also kind of has transpired into the work that I do as a yoga instructor. Throughout the pandemic and this past year, you noted as well, of course, yesterday was not a celebration or even a mark of history, but it was something to note. And in that time, I had the opportunity to sit with myself and kind of use yoga as my practice to really heal through trauma and racism. And I've been throughout the past year in this virtual space able to kind of create workshops and trainings around that as well. So I think that for me, overall, I just really, really like to extend kind of like my own experience and like this lived experience as a mode of sharing out something that maybe somebody would pick up on and be intrigued by. And it was, I think it was really well accepted or received throughout the weekend when we had our event.
Oh my gosh.
A great partner, like, wow. Like, it was such a good, like, you know, easy, no hassles in our planning. I think it came together in my years of doing it. I would say that's the most memorable. Definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I want to say two things. First, I wanted to do this. Let's count how many things you are. Okay. So you are a postdoc at the University of Maryland. You are a wine expert. You are a yoga expert. You're just an all-around great person. I feel like you're just like the total package, all in one.
I really appreciate that. But I think
your birthday, by the way.
It says she's lying. Emmett Till. This is from my colleague as well. She's based in North Carolina. Her name is Jessica Locklear. So she has a screen printing service, and she made this for me. But no, I think that I would attribute that to I'm a multiracial individual as well, so other identities that I hold. And I think that that's like that Latinx side of me, that holding many jobs, many professions, that Caribbean aspect that I hold. We have many, many jobs, many professions.
We have 3 jobs. Where's that from? Quick.
Oh, me?
Quick. Where's that from? He had 3 jobs. Where's that from? Living Color, okay.
Oh, see that now that show I have to like literally I go back on reruns on those type of shows, and I'm really infused and inspired by all of that's where I get my culture from. That's where I'm like a creative in, and I will be a lawyer sometime soon. Trust me. In a past life, I was a JD.
Had to be. So I just want to say thank you. We're gonna go to our little joint segment. Now we're gonna bring what Westburn Majors back, Councilman. And first of all, for y'all to meet, and second for all, just to have a little discussion about everything that we kind of talked about tonight. So Two questions for you. As Black identifying men in this time, how are you affected personally in your communities, in the circles that you run in, by the constant barrage of literal bullets that Black men are dying from at the hand of police? How does this affect you? And how do you live through your day-to-day life kind of carrying some of these things? And Wes, you can go first.
Wow. Yeah. Well, no, I think it's something that has been, taught to me from an early age, on how to carry myself, and unfortunately, you always, your parents have to talk with you, or early in life about, how to deal with that. But just in the last year has been, just very difficult to deal with. But I just try to, digest information only during a certain period of time. And I think, at least for me, my wife and my son ground me on a regular basis. So as much things that are going on out here in the world, I just, I digest it. I try to find, a group of people that I can, talk with. I have some, fraternity brothers and friends that we can discuss these issues, and try to, take it down. But it's been a very trying year, and just a difficult year to have some tough conversations with, but got to keep pushing through and have them.
Branden?
No, I would agree with all of those sentiments. I think for me personally, as I noted, yoga as a practice is something that I've been reflective on. I've been doing it since 2012. But this past year has been wow for me, and kind of like this reawakening of how it can be really, it's seen as performative, right? But it has a space to perform our Blackness and act in our Blackness. And I think that it's often too, especially for Black men, it's seen as something that is girly, effeminate, is not even of our race. But when you have this sense of awareness and to engage with yourself in a practice like yoga, or anything that is kind of like a meditative state, or any wellness practice, it's really important for me as an outlet. And I think that has been really helpful in, again, healing the trauma, just finding ways and outlets to respond to that trauma, and also not being impacted, because on the surface level, we can say that we're not, but deep down, that trauma really does exist. It's real, it's historic, right? So I think within my practice, I'm always being mindful of, allowing myself to just feel. And if I'm angry, feel angry, and then turn that anger into something, right? For me, whatever that means. It doesn't mean that I always have to be productive with that anger or turn it into something productive, but at least deal with it and note that it's trauma and that it's there. And I would also just add too that, as you noted, there are just many bullets coming at you. So like for me, I'm a very visual person. So I actually had to disengage with social media in some aspects. Which was really hard for me as a past communication major, as a young millennial, as somebody who in this space, as I was transitioning, all of my colleagues, friends, and family are on social media. But sometimes what is depicted of our identities is not always, of course, we know to be true, but that is what is there. And that's all that's being presented. So again, trying to find ways to kind of release that and find outlets to know that that is not who I am. However, the world will see me as such. So balance in it.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I think we don't highlight enough is the response, particularly when we see Black and brown bodies. We're quick to mobilize because we have to. But are there enough healing spaces for us to enter into? And I think, speaking to both of your answers there, you have the healing space of family, you have the healing space of the arts, you have these healing spaces that you can get into in order to really regenerate, right? And to deal with trauma. And it is a constant barrage of trauma all the time. I think it was James Baldwin, and Julia can correct me if I'm wrong, who said, to be a Negro in America is to be enraged most
constant state of rage. Yeah.
Constant state of rage, right? Yeah. And so, it's how do you come back from that, and how do you draw back from that to heal? And I think both of your answers speak to that very, very well. family is important during these times. We actually had a recent incident in Harrisburg. I think it was with the Pennsylvania State Police. One of our dear Harrisburg leaders, her grandson was tased and punched by the police right in town. And that family's reeling from that. And I don't think people, one of the things I always say is that Black lives matter while we're still alive, right? And another thing I always say is when we lift up Black lives, we lift up all lives. And I don't think we should wait until after someone dies or is beat up or is hurt to address some of the issues that we are seeing in our community. But then in that addressing, how do we heal? So thank you for your answers on that one. Next question I have, and this is, a little lighter, but now both of you are here. You are both HBCU grads, and you are both Black male HBCU grads. And give me a little something about why HBCUs, why the institutions you chose, and tell us why you think your institution's the best. Because anytime I talk to an HBCU person, well, of course Howard's the best, of course Hampton's the best, of course Fayetteville, of course. I attended FAMU. I did not graduate from it. It was a dual program at Florida State FAMU. And my friends will never let me forget that I didn't graduate from there, and I should have transferred and just graduated from FAMU. Who went to FAMU? So tell me more about your institutions, and tell me more about why you chose them, and kind of like what it's done for you, particularly as you're positioning in the world. Branden, you can go first.
Oh, okay. I mean, I was going to, but I didn't want to impart. But I did graduate from the illustrious Fayetteville State University, and we are the best because I feel as if the history that is rooted within North Carolina. There are so many HBCUs in North Carolina, and being a higher education PhD, learning the history of how land grant institutions, the Second Memorial Act, how we were situated and how we are seen literally still to this day as a deficit. There's just so much pride in it. And I think that is what has been instilled within me in going to an HBCU in the South. I really, really think that it's all love. It's banter amongst, HBCUs about who's the best and who's better. But we are kind of like what I learned. I remember one of my first classes at Penn State, they talked about the it was like a sociological framework of seeing the snake. And at the head of the snake, you have Harvard. And at the end of the snake, as it's trailing, you have HBCUs or minority serving institutions and community colleges. And I really started to see that we are at that end of the snake, a family, right? And there's a reason as to why we have this connectivity and it's important. And I feel like it was the one time at an HBCU where you are there's 10 people doing the same things, right? So it's for instance, if somebody's getting an award, there are 10 other Black people getting an award. Your Blackness is affirmed in that space. You don't have to worry about being anything other than Black. And in this world where we just started this conversation, or a society where they will see us as something as other, we're not that in that space. There are, of course, other salient identities that are more present. And then, of course, as well, there's cliques and all that other stuff that you hear. But it's just, there is this essence of Blackness that we all situate ourselves within. And I think that's really affirming. It really has catapulted me and affirmed me in who I am. And it's the basis and foundation of who I am. I thought I knew who I was prior to going to an HBCU, but I was prepared to go to an HBCU. And then thereafter, I was prepared for life. So I'm really thankful and grateful for my experience.
That is wonderful to hear. Brag on your HBCU a little bit, Wes.
Well, listen, Branden, Dr. Elmore, you said a lot, but I will say that Lincoln University is the envy of other HBCUs because we were the first degree granting HBCU, historically Black college university in the country. Don't let Wilberforce or Cheney say anything else otherwise. But we can go there, but no, but it's all banter and love, as was already mentioned. But for me, I didn't have a choice where I was going to college. Both my parents were Lincoln University grads. They met at Lincoln University. My dad, I went to high school at Bishop McDevitt, and when it was in the city of Harrisburg. And the agreement that he and I made when they said that they would pay for my tuition to go to school there was, you are going to Lincoln University for college. And it was a culture shock in a way, right? Because for 4 years in high school, I was at a Lincoln. I was at a white Catholic school, and freshman year I go to Lincoln, and it's again, even though I'm from Harrisburg, just in terms of my education for 4 years in high school was all was at McDevitt, but Lincoln University changed my life in so many ways. As was already mentioned, it grounded me in myself. Like I said, you could just be you, right? Being Black wasn't anything else. It was just, if you were a nerdy kid, you could find a clique. If you were a kid that liked the anime, you could find a clique. If you were somebody who was into sports, you could find a clique. If you liked whatever it was, there was a group of people that were doing that, and it was just you, and and you were still of the culture, so you had the same references, and and could just move. But not to prolong it, but Langston Hughes, Thurgood Marshall, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Kwame Nkrumah, the list of illustrious HBCU grads, and specifically Lincoln University grads, is long. So I love all of the HBCUs. Mine is just close to my heart. It really grounded me, and I was able to share and live in actually the same building, and I think one room over that my dad did when he was at school there. So it brought us together even more. And it was just an amazing experience. And I would encourage all kids, if you don't go to HBCU, at least look into it first and realize that is one of the best educations you can get. And you will not just learn in the books, but you will learn about yourself in a way that you may not at another institution.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
Do I want to add really quickly a quick thing?
Yes, of course.
I've seen a meme the other day, and it was which I'm very thankful for, because it's also educating people in the social media world. So I'm happy to re-engage. But there was a meme that said, someone said something, oh, I want to go to college. And the parent said, sure, there are 107 HBCUs in the nation. So choose one.
Right.
And there are 107 HBCUs, so choose one, definitely. And I think that would be helpful for my kids as well. Or if, because I'm in higher education, if I'm working at an institution, go there. But you don't really have a choice or an option. But also too, what was just mentioned definitely is important, because I remember taking African-American music, the class structure, right? The courses that were available to us were just not available. And when I went to University of Cincinnati and I had to teach public speaking, the first thing that I read on the first paragraph in the book that I had to teach from my cultural capital was that Aristotle is the father of public speaking or rhetoric. And I was like, really? Because I heard in African-American communication or African-American music that there was this whole history of Africans and people in Egypt who are the peasant farmers. And they were so standoffish, and they didn't want me to tell that story. They actually wanted me to stick to the book. And I was just so thankful that I had that experience at my HBCU. So I would say I echo that as well. Take the opportunity. Do not believe what is out there as far as not offering money. The financial aid office is slow. Of course, the financial aid office is slow. If Kimeka, who's working as one person compared to whomever the other 10 people at a Penn State or in their office can respond to you, it's going to be a slower process. But you have to come in and understand that it's also at a historical level positioned in a such way. But you will gain a really, really robust experience in going to an HBCU.
Oh my goodness, that is such a good point. To respond to one thing you said, my major was psychology, my first major. And I had no idea that psychological testing was racist until I took my classes at FAMU. It wasn't even in the books at Florida State. So if it wasn't for that education, and if it wasn't for having a very strong Dr. Akbar Black psychology professor who knew his history, I would not have ever known that. I just wouldn't have. I wouldn't even known where to look, because I'm just believing lock, stock, and barrel. What we're learning in our history books. So this is why certain revisionist history in states like Texas and other places are extremely concerning, because some of the last bastions of multicultural education are HBCUs. in this country. So,
Mhm.
well, I thank you both. I had more questions, but listen, we got to go. It's 9:32. Okay. Thank you both for being with me. You guys are amazing. I'm glad you got to meet each other online, and hopefully we'll meet each other in person soon. And I want to thank you both for everything that you've done in your work and in your lives. That's absolutely what, Wes, you've been doing in the community for years. And then listen, what Dr. Branden is about to do in the community here in HBG now that he's met, all of us. So thank you both. I'll see you soon. Thank you very much. All right. Well, that was fun. Let me just say a couple of wrap up things here. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me. I'm trying to make sure that these shows are to an hour. It has been a beautiful evening with you all. I'm very excited to see what else is in store for us as we grow. Coming up next time, we're going to have a Juneteenth special. So get ready for that. Juneteenth is coming up. Juneteenth is coming up. Did I say Juneteenth is coming up? Because we're going to do a whole Juneteenth special, and we're going to showcase some very important and exciting features for that. So please stay tuned for that. And as always, don't forget you can ask Dr. K. Okay, you can ask Dr. K lots of different things. I always want to encourage you to email me. You can email me at that email. I did get one question, and one question was around, what my thoughts were on just how to be a good community organizer. And my answer to that question is very long, but I'll sum it up in a couple sentences. And it was a very nice email. It was a much longer email, but the gist of it was how to be a community organizer. And to be a good community organizer, you have to know how to take what people are saying in the community and amplify it. That's one of the things. That's the one point I've learned over the last year. I've been doing a lot of community organizing over a decade or so, but one of the biggest things I learned was the amplification of voices that people don't listen to. So to me, that's a big one. And I would like to send somebody to hell. Okay, so who would I like to send to hell? Because I didn't think about this beforehand, but I'm probably going to send the people to hell who are trying to make me go back into offices full days, 5 days a week. Everybody, not just like one in particular employer, but the whole movement of you have to go back to work after we've been successfully working from home for a year. Why? So y'all can go to hell for that. And then lastly, but not least, I want you to remember to encourage yourself, to be kind to yourself, to speak good things over yourself, and to trust your voice. And we'll see you back here in 2 weeks.